Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Two Shores, One Story. I'm your host, Matthew, and I wanted to ask you, how are you? Right now in Japan, it is the 3rd day of January, so we're 3 days into 2025, and I want you all to know that I have been being consistent. Woohoo! If you don't know what I'm talking about, make sure to go back and listen to my episode 4, starting anew, where I talk about my New Year's resolutions. I mentioned consistency, but what am I wanting to be consistent in? You can find out in that episode. But yeah, I have been quite consistent for the past 3 days. I have been studying vocab. I have been I went to work out today. So not really consistent in that regard. I made curry on New Year's Day, and I've eaten curry for the past 3 days. Very consistent in that regard. Yeah, it was good. I found out today, if you don't know how to reheat curry, I will tell you the best way. In my apartment, I have an air fryer, which also has a warm setting, but it's not the best warm setting. It takes like 20 minutes for it to warm. It's not the best at all. And yes, I played around with the temperature and blah, blah, blah. It's just not the best. So today, only because the curry and the rice did not fit in my bowl, which means I couldn't fit it in my air fryer, blah, 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 blah. I decided to put the curry in a pot and put a little bit of water in there, and it worked great. The curry was moist, the rice was good. So if you ever have curry, I highly suggest that. Also, if you want to know where I made my curry, or how I made it, I used a recipe from Just One Cookbook. So I will link that in the Instagram if you want to find out or make that curry. It was quite delicious. Anyways, today I wanted to talk to you about something completely unrelated. It's not about food. It's not about my New Year's resolutions. It's actually about driving. That's right, driving. I have a confession. I'm not the best at driving. I said it. I got my Canadian driver's license when I was 18 in August. Maybe like the last week of August. Like it was so close, and I was going to university. Oh, actually I lied. I got it when I was 19. I was still in the last year of high school, but I repeated grade 2, so I was actually 19. But yeah, before going to university, my parents made me get it. Which in hindsight was a good idea, because I probably never would have tried, because I really didn't like driving. My younger sister and my older brother drove all the time, so I didn't really need to. So yeah, I didn't really drive a lot in Canada. Only in my hometown. I would drive my parents' car in town, and there were some cases where I had to drive to a city where I lived before because I had to move out because of COVID and I wanted to see friends. But only that kind of stuff. I haven't really driven a whole lot. I don't like driving in the city. It terrifies me. So yeah. And in Japan, I never needed to drive because I had trains and buses and taxis and that kind of stuff. So when I was in Japan the last time, I didn't need to worry, and it was the best. I had a lot of freedom in Japan. It was really great. I could go anywhere I wanted, and it was super easy. And yeah, it was just great. But, flash forward 7 years after, I'm in a completely different area, and I didn't think I would need to drive, but alas, it is not the case. I do have to drive. Yeah, the town where I'm placed we are basically required to drive because it's so far and everyone has their different schools. So I asked if I could carpool. I remember emailing my RPA and just asking can I carpool with other ALTs to my schools? And that's just not how it works. So I had to get over my fear and drive in Japan. And, it was good. One of the CIRs, I guess the only CIR in Takayama. When I first got to my placement, Takayama, after we had our little dinner, they helped me by giving me a little practice test. Not practice test. They were in the car and I just did a little driving test with them. So we just did circles in a parking lot, and after I got comfortable with that, it became squares, and then we started driving on the road, and I was really, worried about driving on the left side, because in Canada, we drive on the right side, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I thought I was going to crash within the first day of me driving, but no, it was, the driving on the left side, it was pretty easy, and yeah, so it wasn't a problem. And then I think 2 days after, maybe 2 or 3 days after that, me and another ALT and my supervisor and RPA went to our rental car shop. And I guess prior to us coming, there was other ALTs that came in like the last week of July. So they were able to pick more cars than we were. We only got 2 options, and the other ALT lived farther away than I did, so I let him choose first, and which means I got the really bad car that is known as the park bench, because the passenger side has no room and the seat is literally a bench and you have no room for your legs. It's actually awful. It's called the Suzuki Alto, and that's the car I had, and I drove it decently okay, but maybe not even the second day of me having the car, I got into an accident. Oops. Basically what happened is I was going to Edeon, and I will preface that I went to Edeon, which is an electronics store. I went to Edeon the day prior and I exited out fine. But this time I didn't. I was exiting, and basically when you exit from Edeon, there's 2 options, but I didn't know that at the time. So I only thought there was 1 option, and this had me exiting and turning onto a 2-way bypass, which was quite busy. So I was waiting to go, and I saw that there was a car behind me, and I was like, oh, I should maybe go so I don't have to make it wait. And so I was like worried about that. And so me being the accommodating person that I am, I was like, I'll go so that they don't have to wait for me, and also like make sure that the other cars have enough room to go. So I made sure that I had enough space, and then I turned left very tightly, and then I heard a really like terrible sound, like a crushing metal sound, scraping, and my heart sank 10 times because I've never been into an accident before that. And what had happened was when I was turning left and I turned left too hard, I scraped the car across a guardrail. It's funny now, but then I wasn't happy. I was angry because all I wanted to do was just go to the furniture store. After the Edeon, I had plans. But instead, I texted my RPA and told them what happened, and then I told the supervisor, and then I went home because I was sad. I was really sad. And then I think a few days after that, I had to go back to Edeon, and we met with the police, and I was like freaked out a little bit. I was bowing and being very quiet because I was just trying to be as respectful as possible. But they really didn't do anything. I think it just my insurance increased because of that. But yeah, I looked at the guardrail then, and I was like, wow, the guardrail did more damage to my car than it did to me, or I did to it. So that was funny. And that was my first accident. So then, because of that, I went back to the rental store, and I remember it very distinctly. The owner, or the person that was helping me, looked at the car. He knelt down, he looked at the car, and he said, "Yaba," which if you don't know what yaba means, it's short for yabai, which is a really useful adjective in Japanese. It can mean either incredible or oh my gosh, depending on how you say it and the tone and blah blah blah. So he was like, oh my gosh, and I was like, it's not that serious, but maybe it was, I don't know. Anyways, yaba, yeah, yabakatta na. Anyways, so that was my first accident, and well, I'm not going to call that an accident because I don't think I did damage to the car, but it could have been really, really, really bad. I will tell you, I was picking up a friend who was going to a different city to do some sightseeing, and I was driving. And this, by the way, after I got, or he looked at the car, I got a new, well, not a new, but I got a loaner car because my other car had to get fixed. So I'm in this really nice car. It has Bluetooth. When I turn on the ignition, my phone automatically connects to Bluetooth and plays music. It's amazing, and I love it. It was a Mitsubishi E-Wagon. I don't know what the year was, but it was awesome. I loved it. But yeah, I went to pick my friend up, and I was using the map, and I was like, I'm going to be accommodating again. Me being accommodating, I was like, he's going to come from the left side, so I should turn so that it's easy for him to put his stuff in. So I was reversing, and then I was driving, and then my left side of the car near the driver's side went down. It sunk, and I was like, what the heck? What happened? What did I do? Turns out, my left tire went into the gutter. The gutter. If you don't know, some Japanese roads have these gutters. And I went into it. It's really bad saying it now, but I was just thinking, only I could do this. Only I'm that talented to do something like that. And so this was like at 7:30 a.m. and he wanted to leave at 7:35 a.m. And I texted him. I was like, hey, we might have a problem. And he's like, oh, what? And I said, my car's in the gutter. It's really bad. Yeah, it's kind of comical, but it was not good at the time. So, he was really, really calm. Thank goodness. I don't know how he was calm. I would have crapped my pants. But he went and he like, oh yeah. So I was like, do you think I can reverse? And he's like, maybe. Oh yeah, before he even was there, I thought I could maybe lift the car out by myself because it's a small car. It's a K car and they're like small mini cars. And I've been going to the gym, so maybe I could lift it up. No. But maybe I didn't have the best hold on it. That's the problem. Anyways, I wasn't able to. So luckily only my left tire, only one tire was in the gutter. So I just said, do you think I can reverse? So he's like, yeah, maybe. And he I turned the wheel and I was like, do you think this is a good angle? And I reversed and it was fine. No damage from what I can see, or from what I saw. And he got to his bus on time. Thank the Lord on high. But that did happen. And, you got to be careful. So now I'm really careful about gutters because it could happen. Luckily, I was able to get out. I'm so thankful. So that was my second bad thing with the car. Didn't do any damage. At least I think it didn't. But, a few weeks, maybe 1 month or 2 months after, I had another accident, and this time I did damage my car. Same Suzuki Alto. I got it back. Ugh. And what was it? I was driving. Well, I wasn't driving yet. I was getting ready to go to my first Bunkasai, which is a cultural festival in in Japan, and a lot of schools have their little bunkasai. It's really like a festival in the school, and it's actually a lot of fun. So I was so excited to go, but I was a little bit late, I think. So I was like hurrying, and I just did a swift turn. So what happened was, I'm backtracking. Sorry about that. My parking spot is terrible. I have the foreigner parking spot, I think. I'm just in a little corner. And I can't really reverse into it. It's just too difficult. So I always drive into it, right? So, and when I exit, I have to reverse out. And I have to watch and that kind of stuff. Usually and also, sorry, there is 2 apartments at my place. One apartment has like a car park that's underneath it. So there's like a little pole that's by my car. I hope you can see what's going on, because I reverse out and I have to reverse again to kind of straighten and go out of the parking spot. And I may have hit the headlight case. Maybe. No, I definitely did. I hit the right headlight case on the rear headlight case. Not the light bulb didn't get damaged, but the headlight did. Headlight case. So that was fun, and I didn't want to tell the rental place because I didn't want to have to get my insurance raised. So I was driving, and I was like, I was searching, like maybe I can do it myself, but they said, like, I searched Google, and they're like, no, you can't really. So I ended up calling the rental place, and there was a little bit of confusion. They ended up bringing a tow truck to my school, and luckily it was bunkasai because the students would have seen me, and that would have been very embarrassing. Yeah, they took my car, and I got a rental car, a loaner car, and the next day I picked it up, and I paid outright because it wouldn't raise my insurance, and it wasn't that bad either. So those were my accidents so far, and I hope that will end it, because I am a lot better at driving now because I've had accidents, and I'm really glad my mom has said, and I agree, that I'm glad the accidents were not against people or regarding people or other cars. Just a guardrail and my headlight case. Nothing major. I never got injured and that kind of stuff. So that was good. But, I really did not like my rental car. I didn't like it. Also, I wanted to live in Japan. My idea was to live here where I am now for 3 years. 3 years. I had the idea that I would buy a car because it's better to save. It's better for saving money. I would have to pay for a car every month, and I would pay the insurance still, but it would just be the insurance this time, right? So now I got a new car, and I can talk later about how to do that kind of stuff, what you should look for. I'm not the best because I don't really know a lot about cars, but I got a car. And yeah, it's good. It also, actually doesn't have Bluetooth, but I got a cool panel that has it has something similar to Apple CarPlay. So I can listen to my music, and it gives me navigation. It's awesome. And, yeah, I really like it. I haven't gotten into an accident in my new car yet. I hope it never happens. I'm going to be really defensive about my driving, because I don't want to get into any more accidents. And yeah, I'll let you know if anything happens. Maybe I can make a part 2 to driving. All in all, though, I guess I can talk about a little bit about driving in Japan. It's more about, me getting into accidents, but I did say driving in Japan. So what are things you should know? Well, first of all, you have to drive on the left side, as I said. Another thing that I didn't know when I started driving here is that you have to stop for all railroads. I didn't know that. So when I was doing the practice driving with the CIR, I learned that. So you just have to stop and look to see if a train's coming. Maybe in Canada, at least where I'm from, we have a steam train, but it doesn't come it's not often, right? So we don't stop for it unless there's like a stop thing, right? But here you have to stop. Another thing to know, in Canada and America, you can turn right when, even if it's like a stop or a red light, you can turn right if it's safe, right? But in Japan, you can't. So even if you're turning left or whatever, you just have to wait till it's green to turn left. Those are kind of the things that I think are major. One thing that kind of shocked me, I guess, too, was that there's 2 traffic lights. So there's one that's closer to the driver and then one that's kind of the same distance as it would be in Canada. And at first I didn't like it because I was like, why are there 2? But now I appreciate it because it does help cars see what's going on. If the car is like far away, they can say like, oh, it's red. I found it kind of interesting at first. I was like, oh, okay. It's interesting that Japan is a high context country, but they have 2 traffic lights. Yeah. So I hope that you won't make the same mistakes as I do or as I did. Basically, when driving, and I've told this to like other ALTs and new people that have come, when you're driving, it's obviously important to like think about other people, but you are the driver, so you're allowed to take your time if you don't feel safe. If I took my time and waited at Evian and waited for the right time to go, I wouldn't have been in an accident. Look at your surroundings. I would have maybe clued in that there was a gutter and I should maybe not drive into it. And also, I would have maybe not hit my headlight case. So that is my wisdom. If you have any driving horrors in Japan, please let me know. I have updated my Instagram, so you can follow me there on Instagram. The podcast also is on SoundCloud, YouTube, and I also have a Facebook group for any boomers or older people, maybe people my age and up who want to engage in my podcast. There is a Facebook group as well. Just like if you have anything that you want to let me know about driving, put in the comments or DM me on the Instagram, and I would love to answer or read your horror stories. Anyways, I think that is it for now, and I hope you have a great rest of the week, and I will see you next time.